Hi everyone, it is now 4 o'clock and we shall begin. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Apurva Gupta and I'm the Assistant Coordinator at the Department of Distance Education at NLSIU. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you who have made the time to join us for this webinar on our postgraduate diploma in medical law and ethics. I am joined by my colleagues today, Professor Nandi Mutt, who is the program coordinator for this diploma program. He's with us. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for making the time and joining for this webinar and sharing more about the course with the attendees. Professor Nandimat has been an esteemed member of the NLSIU faculty for over 2 decades now, is a widely published legal scholar and has also been the registrar of the university. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And I'm also joined by my colleague, Ms. Sushila Suresh, who is the facilitator of the DED department. And she also has a decade-long experience under her belt.
Hello, everybody.
Great. So let me first introduce you briefly, very briefly, to NLSIU. Could we move on to the next slide? So NLSIU was actually the first national law university to be established in India in 1986. And it was set up with the mission to pioneer legal education and educational reforms in the legal field. And since then, it has been anchoring the transformation of the Indian legal system through cutting edge research and policy interventions. For 30 years now, the institution has remained a leader in the field of legal education. We have been ranked number one in many of the leading national and international rankings. And recently, in the National Institutional Ranking Framework, we have been ranked number one from 2018 to 2020. In addition to that, we are very proud to share that we have an exceptionally high achieving group of alumni who have furthered NLSU's mission, who've acted socially responsibly, and have led the fields that they have joined, which is, of course, in the law, but also in various other fields that they have been a part of. Let me also take this opportunity to introduce to you the distance education department. Could we move on to the next slide? So the distance education department is a pillar for forwarding NLSIU's vision of social inclusion. Therefore, we aim to build bridges to make education available to those who may not be able to attend classes on campus. With this vision, we have programs designed for self-paced learning. These are hybrid programs which aid the learner to be able to learn about a subject, interdisciplinary subjects, to know more about their field, to understand the contemporary trends that are going on in their field, and to also allow them to develop skills to critically engage with the legal systems at the crossroads of this interdisciplinarity. Our curricula is contemporary, periodically revised, and taught by the leading experts in the field. Some of the best professors at NLSIU teach these courses. So if you're looking for career advancement, if you're looking to be a leader in your field and there is a distance education program that is of your interest, we highly recommend you to explore that. And it also gives you an opportunity to be a part of an outstanding alumni network. All graduates from all disciplines are eligible to apply, and we do not have an age limit as we want to make this an inclusive program. We will now move on specifically to talk about the postgraduate diploma in medical law and ethics. And may I now request Professor Nandi Mutt to interact with our attendees to share more about the program.
Okay, thank you, Apurva. Thank you very much. And very good afternoon to all the people who are attending this webinar. Well, what I would probably, say is at the very outset, why a doctor of an eminence or a medical professional should undergo this particular program? That is one question which would certainly influence if not everyone, most of you in joining this course or considering this particular course as a serious, probability to join, right? The second question which you would rather have in your mind is, okay, the course appears as somewhat related to, your domain, but you are not in a position to make out whether this course you are capable of, completing. I'm not saying from the ability point of view. I'm saying it from the point of view of the time at your disposal and your professional and other personal moorings, which are actually preoccupying you right away. And the third and the last one is, okay, if at all you join this particular course, what are going to be the takeaways? This is how my experience tells me, the questions can be bundled into these three categories. I would say, if not, in the recent past, but from the beginning of your profession itself, regulation or law has played a significant role, especially to say in India post 90s. You have sudden, what you call as growth of litigation against the doctors, and also regulations, pertaining to the medical field. So in this particular course, we try to predominantly introduce all the doctors, because this course is predominantly designed keeping typically an average doctor in mind. So it introduces the doctor to the whole array of law and legal, systems. It introduces you to the legal systems. Just to put you in a perspective, many doctors do and find it difficult to find out what is a cognizable offense, non-cognizable offense, what is meant by criminal liability, civil liability, when they can seek for bail, when they cannot seek for bail, which would be the competent court having jurisdiction to try a particular case, so on and so forth. All these aspects you would be given a kind of introduction. That happens in your paper number 1. Then we try to really give you a kind of an idea as to those laws which are predominantly applicable to your domain. Like, you can probably start by saying, look, when we talk about health or when we talk about medicine, right? Medicine is a subset of health. When you are talking of health, it has got something to do with an individual. So what law has got a role to play there? That's obviously the question. The answer to this question we attempted to understand in paper 2, because look here, there are 3 very important determinants of health. The first, or 3 important perspectives to health, what we call as promotive, preventive, and curative. Regarding the first 2, promotive and preventive aspects of health, we generally try to establish a kind of linkage as far as paper 2 is concerned. So here you will clearly understand, or you try to really explore to yourself how law can play a predominant role or a critical role as far as developing the health systems in any country. And it would also ultimately impact or influence the individual's health parameter itself. So this interlinkage is what you are going to understand as far as paper 2 is concerned. When you come to the curative aspect of health, that is obviously the most, what you call as crux, or the most important, I can even say the DNA of this particular program. That is, once you start treating a patient, and if the patient turns out to be disgruntled or the patient turns out to be dissatisfied the way you have treated him, at that point in time, you need to really understand he would attempt to take legal recourse. So what happens when he attempts to take legal recourse? Or other words, we are trying to talk about doctor-patient relationship, or yet in another words, would be talking about the doctor-patient relationship as far as paper 3 is concerned. Here you would be talking about issues like, medical negligence. What constitutes medical negligence? Consent and medical treatment. Confidentiality and medical treatment, right? And we would also be touching upon the criminal liability aspects of doctor-patient relationship, so on and so forth. And then finally, there are a lot of emerging areas in the sphere of health law. Just to name, today we are talking unprecedentedly during these COVID times, that is providing emergency care or COVID treatment as emergency care without expecting anything in return, either free of cost or at a regulated price. Regulating the price of health services is one, emerging area. Production technologies is another area. Mental health law is yet another area. Telemedicine is yet another area. So there are number of, because the field is so dynamic, you have number of courses, that is number of developments that are taking place, and all such carefully chosen representative developments is what you would be studying as part of paper 3. See, that is law and medicine, some emerging issues. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, before I do not really, I hope after this brief introduction, you would get an opportunity to ask few queries and things like that. That is how it is being structured. So I wanted to reserve more time for you to ask questions rather than me, going on and on and on. But if you really look at the 5 papers, paper number 1 introduces you generally to the law and legal system. So it actually brings all the doctors who do not have proper education in law or formal education in law on a platform. See, it would prepare you to plunge forward. And paper 2 talks about law and health interface. And paper 3 talks about doctor-patient relationship or medical negligence. And paper 4 talks about law and medicine, some of the emerging issues. And then you would finally are expected to write a dissertation. So this is how the course is structured. Now let us ask, let us go to the second kind of a thing. If you find this course is somewhat interesting, I would expect you to explore little more by visiting our website, where you would find a lot of description regarding the course, and you can probably deep dive and try to understand what this course would further encompass and what it has got to offer and things like that. The second question, as I said, does this particular question, the question is, does this program, is for me? Yes, I have said it is for doctors. There is no doubt about it. We have kept, doctor at the center, or health delivery as, the center. And we have also developed this particular course by consulting many, doctors and other experts in the field, etc. But at the same time, it is a useful course for nurses, paramedics, hospital administrators, and other, health workers who are looking to broaden their horizons of practice and knowledge in the sphere. And those doctors who are at their mid-career and they are planning to take some kind of a leadership role in the days to come, I would say it is a unique opportunity wherein you would get to learn something about law and regulation vis-a-vis health service delivery. Whether it is, last question is whether you would be able to do what it takes more in terms of, okay, you can take admission and there is some amount of a fees you require to pay. That is one part of it. But you are asking this question whether you would be able to take up this particular challenge or take up this particular program. In terms of time, what it amounts to. We have done a calculation. An average doctor putting about, let us say, 120 hours in 10 months should be able to very comfortably, clear this particular course. That is a commitment we had worked out. And 20 hours, 120 hours, 20 hours is meant for writing your dissertation. And remaining 100 hours is studying, understanding, doing bit of self-study and research for your dissertation, all inclusive. But this 120 hours does not include your, time which you would allocate for attending our contact seminars. We have online contact seminars now. If you wish to attend them, yeah, that time is not included here. This is where I personally think I should be stopping and see how the flow goes.
Thank you so much, sir, for that detailed outline of the course. We will quickly move on to the question answer session now. May I request everybody who has a question to raise their hand on Zoom? We will unmute you and allow you to ask whatever question you may have. We will also request you to keep your questions precise in the interest of time. Thank you.
Where I can give the exam because I have to come to Bangalore to write this exam, or I can give it in anywhere like.
So ideally for all these years, we've been conducting exams at 4 centers across India, which I think for you, Delhi might be the nearest center. However, given that we are in an unprecedented time right now, we are in the process of evaluating what might be the best way forward to conduct the examination. Online exams is a possibility. Moving forward, we are also exploring whether we should offer exams, the opportunity to take exams both in the online and the offline mode. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. I got my answer.
Yeah, we'll move on to Mahua Dasgupta.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Hi,
Thank
good
you for
evening.
this introductory course. What I wanted to know was about the contact programs. How compulsory are they, given our tight schedules at our workplace, and what is the approximate duration in case we have to come down for the contact programs?
So the contact classes are optional. They are not mandatory. And they are conducted over the weekends. So
Okay.
if you are able to travel to campus from wherever you are traveling, that would be the time that you will
So,
spend.
ma'am, like I'm currently placed in Kolkata, so like every weekend is impossible for me to fly down. So, is it like we can take it once in the course time, anything like that, or we can just skip it?
Purva, may I pitch in?
Yes, sure, sir.
Thank you. See, madam, what Apurva is saying is we have every month, fourth
Right.
Sunday, that is fourth Saturday and Sunday,
Yes,
we
sir.
have our, contact seminars typically happening at Bangalore.
Right, sir.
Right. So, as she said, it is not mandatory.
Right,
We
sir.
encourage you to attend.
Yes, sir.
Right. So,
Okay.
if you don't attend, that is not going to be a lapse on your part as a scholar.
Okay, sir.
And
Okay.
whether, so what it would mean if you decide to attend all the contact seminars, let's say,
Yes,
that
sir.
mean you should be prepared to travel from your respective place to, Bangalore. And we
Yes,
have
sir.
a lot of scholars who have blocked their dates, booked their tickets well in advance, and they do travel.
Okay, sir.
Right. But
Right, sir.
this time we experimented with online classes.
Okay, sir.
That happened after Apurva joined us recently, and
Yes, sir.
we had, because we experimented because of this unprecedented COVID kind of a scenario. This
Right,
time
sir.
we confined our classes only to online. But
Okay.
the response, what I have got, my response cannot be taken to be 100%, correct,
Right,
because
sir.
people who interacted with me, the scholars who interacted with me, etc., they wrote to me saying that it is a great initiative and they,
Okay.
benefited a lot.
Yes, sir,
So
definitely.
now we are considering, I'm sure we are going to consider that also as an option so that we
That
can
would
reach
be
out
great.
to many people.
Yes, sir.
The whole concept of distance education is, without moving you out of your comfort zone, how we can actually make you learn more. That's all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Good day, sir.
To just add to that, we will definitely be trying to offer classes in a hybrid mode so that those who are unable to travel have some access to some lectures or online classes.
Right. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Ralph, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Sir, how can we use this course for what is the purpose? What are the future possibilities of this course in if you are seeing the position in the from the patient part or as a consultant, what we can give society from this course? Can we introduce any good clinical practice method or by filtering the or medical negligence part or something like that, sir?
Apurva, may I take
Yes,
that?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you, sir, for that insightful question. I would take that question by broadening it myself. See, what are the avenues how you can make use of the knowledge which you gain out of this particular program? This is how I wanted to enlarge, so that other, similar questions can be answered in one go. So the first and the foremost is we try to really teach you law, not from the point of view of litigation. It is not just when you face kind of a litigation in the court of law yourself, when you are in loggerheads with your so-called the patient, how you are going to really protect yourself. That is not the perspective. Although that happens, we want you to use this knowledge as a tool of decision making, so that a doctor should really feel confident whenever he is trying to treat his patient. He should feel confident that there is little chance or no chance of litigation against him. So this is preventive strategy we try to teach. That is number one. Number two, as you rightly pointed out, once you gain this part of the knowledge, you would become our ambassador and you would spread this kind of an awareness to your scholars, students, juniors, fellow colleagues, so on and so forth. And number three, there are many of our scholars, right, whom you would certainly meet when you start this particular program. Hopefully you will meet some of them who would come as resource persons themselves. They will tell you how they have providing some sort of legal consultancy to also their fellow doctors and things like that. So the opportunities are almost n in a number.
So there are a couple of questions on the chat by lawyers who are asking how is this program beneficial for them. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay. Sorry, I did not open my chat box because already there are 25 of them. So thank you very much. See, I would say even for lawyers, this particular course renders a super specialization to them. When I say lawyers in today's context or a lawyer in today's context, with due respect, if I take myself, when I studied the law, that is way long, that is a different matter, be it 5 years or 3 years. Medical law or health law is only an optional subject as per our scheme in India. So they would not have had a complete in-depth study done in this particular domain or area. So this provides them an unique opportunity to specialize in this particular area. That is number one. And number two, nearly, although they are minority, I won't use the word microscopic minority, lawyers are minority as far as this particular program is concerned, but we do have around 7 to 8% of total enrollments from the lawyers community. They all write back to us and give their feedback saying that this course provided them not only specialization, the opportunity to specialize, but develop some kind of unique insights so that they can better able to fire in front of the tribunal, court, and things like that. This is how I would like to briefly answer the question, Apurva.
Okay, sir. We'll move on to Vibha. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. I am Vibha. I just graduated from medical school last year. I just wanted to ask that for the dissertation part, will we have some guidance from the core lecturers there, or we have to do it on our own?
See, this is, I would probably answer, Vibha, your question in two parts. The first part is practically from your standpoint of view, because of the large number of enrollments we have and very limited number of people dealing with, this, we are hardly 2 or 3 people from National Law School who would be organizing this entire program. So you need to really take it that you are on your own when you are writing your dissertation. This is what I wanted to, say from your perspective. But we do have, scholars who often write to us. At that time, we try to provide them some kind of, sort of consultation, some kind of a guidance. But you can't rely very heavily upon us. That is number one. And although the word used is dissertation, maybe you try to, in a regular curriculum, dissertation means it is deep diving into a particular area, trying to exhaustively research and things like that. Here, the idea of dissertation is developing the acumen of self-learning in the scholar. So if you understand that, then you need not have to be that scared that you are left on your own and you have to do all the research by yourself, which is a mammoth task and things like that. It is not that.
Okay, sir. Actually, I have graduated just last year, so I didn't have a core idea about the dissertation which your university is providing.
Okay. But any which ways, you can take at this moment in time, a limited, what you call as consultation and assistance would be provided to you. That can probably guide you to the final decision of joining or otherwise.
Okay, so that you will give the topic, or we have to choose it on our own?
See, both ways it works. We give you, what you call a list of topics.
Okay.
You can choose from that list, or you can choose a topic on your own, but with the prior approval, you can go ahead and work for your dissertation. Both ways it works.
Coming from the medical field, we have already performed certain, I have been through research before. I've had prior exposure to it. So can this dissertation be in a form of a study wherein, we get prior ethical clearance from a registered ethical committee and perform a study and produce the same study in the form of a dissertation? Is it allowed? And for which we can get guidance from a legal department. Like we also have legal medicine, like for legal medicine or forensic medicine is a part of our curriculum. So can we combine and do it with faculty who can serve as guide, if not the people from NLUS? So that was my question.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. We have number of scholars who have done that.
Okay, sir.
But look here,
Yes,
before
sir.
that you require sort of a small formality of seeking our prior approval, because it is case to case basis.
Okay, sir.
You get my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Actually, first of all, I would like to thank you for creating such a wonderful program. And I have a question that what kind of preparation is needed from our side to extract maximum benefit from this course?
Sir, it's a very good question, but a tricky question as well. I always, say it, and let me say it over ambitiously as I always do. If you wanted to really look from the, what you call as conferment of diploma point of view, I would say 200 hours if you keep aside with some kind of a pattern. And even there are doctors with a great, what you call as acumen. What they have done is they say around 80 hours they have studied and they have cleared the course. But if you really wanted to generate value, I would say you need to, what you call as not only set aside a time, but participate in our, contact classes. Because when you attend our contact classes, there are 3 types of learning you would expose yourself to. Number one, the learning which happens, which is facilitated by the resource person, a lawyer or a doctor or a former alumni who comes and delivers the lecture and interacts with you, you would learn from him. Number two, you would learn from your fellow colleagues who would have come traveling, long distances there with different types of experiences in their belly. So peer learning is what you get yourself exposed to. And the number 3, according to me, is the most important learning that would occur. That is, you would, more than understanding the law, you would understand the limitation of law. Let me just take 1 minute and explain it to you, sir. Most of the time you find the doctors out of fear or anxiety join our course, saying that, oh, there is so much of litigation against us. We have been left, right, and center litigated, and so on and so forth. But here, after joining the course, you would become so confident that you can probably try to create or tweak some kind of, clinical, what you call as protocols yourself. That is what our scholars have, done so far. So you can contribute to the confidence of the fraternity itself. So that, I hope, provides a kind of answer to your question.
So there are 1 or 2 questions about how is the course specifically beneficial for people who are healthcare administrators, but may not necessarily be doctors or nurses.
Okay, see, we have nearly 20% of our population, Apurva. You must have really, if you do that kind of manipulation, you will find out 20% of the people who join this course are administrators, health administrators. Some of them are formally educated in medicine, that is doctors turned administrators. Some of them are not. But this course is found very, very useful by all of them. That is the feedback we have got. Just to give 2 examples, as an administrator, your job is basically to document, right? So you need to develop systems of documentation. See what kind of a documentation, in what form the documentations are to be maintained, and how these documents are going to be really useful to protect yourself against, the possible litigation and things like that, is one area which you are going to get. Second one is when you are actually running a hospital, you share a lot of patient information with others. So how do you interact with others and share the patient information, the confidentiality, and how and when it is said to have been breached, so on and so forth. This would be very, very, very useful course for administrators as well. It is not just from the clinician's point of view. From your point of view also, this course is helpful.
My name is Ajay Singh. I am working in Woodlands Hospital, Calcutta. I have done my medical legal course from different university last 8 years back. My question is, I am currently doing the medical legal work in a hospital, but ma'am, I feel, practically I feel some problems regarding drafting of the medical legal cases or understanding, better sense in all the drafts. So, of course, can I overcome from such kind of problems?
If you really participate in our, contact seminars, there the methodology adopted is interaction. So you ask questions and we try to answer, and most of your unanswered questions otherwise you would get some kind of, let's say, answers to. But if you are asking whether we will give you some kind of inputs as to how to draft and things like that, there is not heavy drafting this course involves.
Right. I got it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So there's one question from people who are in the medical profession, and they want to know if this course will enable them to work as legal advisors.
Yes, that is what I said, no? They can become legal advisors, as most of the alumni are advising now. At least I know 3 of them who have actually stopped their clinical practice, although I'm not happy about the way they have gone about. So they have stopped their clinical practice and they are into medico-legal consultancy itself 100%.
Okay. All right, sir. Chandrasekhar Pant, please ask your question.
So just I want to know this hybrid system of yours, which you have planned, especially in this unprecedented situation of COVID scenario. Ma'am, would it be continued later on also, ma'am?
Yes, so for now, that is how we are planning to go ahead to offer both on-campus engagement format as well as online engagement format. We will be in touch with you with specific details. We are still working those out. but that's the direction that we are going in.
And secondly, ma'am, what about the study material? Once it's a printed study material, any other material or soft copy sort of things?
So from this year, we've started sharing online material with you. So there will be a soft copy that would be given to everybody who enrolls for the program. Should you require a hard copy for any particular reason, there is a small additional cost at which you can purchase that. Sharon, please go ahead and ask your question.
Ma'am, this course is the law is related to Indian context, right? So, what is the validity about in working abroad?
No doubt you are right in saying it is in Indian context, but the principles remain the same globally because some of our scholars, but not very many of them, they had enrolled from abroad also. We had some scholars from Australia and United Kingdom joining the program few years back, and they all gave the feedback saying that it is quite useful because whatever the principles on which the Indian law is based or Indian interpretation is based remain across the globe same.
Hello ma'am, good evening everyone. I'm
Good
Dr.
evening.
Purnima from Bangalore. Me and my husband, we both are planning to join PGDMLE for this academic year. I just want to know the schedule of the contact classes, ma'am. And one more thing I wanted to ask is, can I get the access to the library since I am staying in Bangalore?
May I?
Yes, Sushila ji, please go ahead.
As you are residing in Bangalore, you can visit the LNLS library with your ID card and refer to the books. But the students are not allowed to borrow the books.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
My question to sir is, since I'm an advocate, will it be difficult for me to do this course, and in particular, whether this course have too much on medical matters or not? Because with my limited experience, I have found in medical negligence case, we as advocate, we will not understand the medical issues until unless we are guided by the medical practitioner himself. So being an advocate, we can argue.
I would say compared to your counterparts, you would enjoy this particular course and you would find this course is much easier. That is number one. And number two, most of the lawyer friends who have joined our course, they had given us a feedback that helps me in developing this insight, that they think this course is highly technical. As you said, unless doctor briefs them and explains, it is not at all possible for him to follow. But after joining the course, they would understand how they can de-siphon that sort of complications as well. So the short answer is, yes, you would certainly be able to find this course enjoyable, and compared to the doctors, you may find the course much easier.
Okay. And does this course involve medical science? Do we need to learn something about medicine?
No, sir. No, not
okay.
really. Not really.
So that won't be difficult for us.
No.
Okay. And sir, when will this course start exactly, and when will this end?
That Apurva should answer.
Shall I?
Yes, go ahead.
The academic year of the course is July to June, sir. The classes will start from August. We will send you a year-long schedule.
Okay. And there will be only one exam.
One examination by June
next year. Okay. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I see there's a question on fee structure, or if students can avail a discount. At the moment, we are unable to offer any discounts. We empathize with the current situation, but we are also in it. So the fee structure for this year will remain the same.
Hi, how are you doing? I just wanted to ask you a few questions about the dissertation, because compared to the doctors who might fare easily in this, because they can cite a lot of case laws from their practical experiences. So will a lawyer be at a disadvantage in this?
No, I don't really think, Ansa.
Okay. So basically, would you recommend, because I have already enrolled for this, and now after hearing this, that, this is designed primarily for doctors and nurses and paramedics. So after hearing this, I'm slightly discouraged on some level.
Not really like that. See, because we have taken greater insights from their point of view. But you would also be able to see it is like you, whatever you learn here, you will also develop deeper insights into your practice, and you can take it, with suitable modifications yourself. That is why I say we have sizable number of lawyers, population also enrolling for this course. That's what
So
I can.
what is the future? I'm sorry. What is the future sort of like what can lawyers do with this degree apart from litigation? Like, can they be advisors? Because
Yeah. You can. See, a lot of hospitals, for example, I'll just tell you, there are 3 hospitals in Bangalore, right? One is Cloud9, and second one is Columbia Asia, and the third one, the name is slipping out of my mind right now. When they hired their advisors, they said PGDMLE from NLSI would be an added advantage. That is how they included it into their criteria itself.
Hi everybody, I just have 2 questions.
Yes.
One is that since I am a practicing doctor, there will be times that I may not be able to attend certain live classes. So will I be getting the recorded classes for the classes that I have missed? This is one. And second question that is pertaining to sir as well, that like in our medical profession, we have forensic science medicine people who attend courts to give expert opinions or give opinions. Will we, as a postgraduate diploma in medical legal system, also get have to attend courts, or will that opportunities come?
Your second question, I would first answer, Jainji. Yes, you can render expert opinion.
So for some classes, you will be able to access the recording. We will try and upload that. However, as professors may be discussing sensitive cases in some of the other lectures, those may not be available online. So it will again be on a case-to-case basis.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead and ask.
Good evening, ma'am. So my question is, so after completing the course, do we get a placement assistance from your institute?
So we do not offer placements. We do not have a placement system as such. Our aim is that the course will enable you enough and give you a substantial sense of the field to be able to go out there and avail those opportunities yourself. However, if you feel that within the NLSIU community, there is somebody specifically who might be able to help you, you may write to us and we will try and make that connection for you.
Okay, thank you.
There is one question about alumni status. Right now, the people who enroll for this program will become a part of the DED NLS alumni community. The alumni community of the regular programs at NLS is separate. However, we are exploring forums where they can engage on specific curated topics. But to share with you that the DET alumni committee is also huge. So that would be an added incentive if you were to explore this program and others in DET. Yes, as of now, there isn't a separate platform for peer interaction, but that is a good suggestion, and I will take that and see what we can do on behalf of the department to enable some curated interaction amongst the peers and the students who take this course. Please write to us at ded@nls.ac.in. You will be receiving the study material in August before your classes. I saw one query. And in case you continue to have some doubts or need clarifications, just reach out to us and we will answer those for you. I would like to thank Professor Nandimat for making the time and being so patient with all the queries and answering them. I'm sure that was a big added incentive to those who are exploring this program. Also to my colleague, Ms. Sushila Suresh, who's had a gamut of years of experience in the department, and to all the attendees for making the time. We look forward to welcoming you as a part of our program. And if you continue to have questions, do reach out to us. For now, the application deadline is June 30th. Thank you very much and have a good day and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.